The Long Dark is an amazing game that has been in development for almost 6 years and is still going strong, with its 5th episode set to release sometime in 2023. With Hinterland being the game studio behind The Long Dark as their only title as of recording this video, it's impressive when they in 2021 reached 5 million copies sold worldwide. And with so many games taking upon the challenge of making an open world survival game, I am happy to see that The Long Dark has found its place amongst all the other titles. I've been following The Long Dark and its development since the early access back in 2014, and it have always stood out as a game I can come back to and relax with. And since then, the game have received many updates that have only made the game better and much more enjoyable. Before I go into details about the game, I would like to add that this video is fully about the gameplay, and I will not be touching the story or with the mute part of the game at all. When we first launched the game, we are greeted by a soothing soundtrack paired with a beautiful menu, where you immediately can start off with the survival mode, which is the open world mode that is a staple of the survival genre, where your main goal is to survive by any means necessary, along with a menu including different challenges including Hopeless Rescue, The Hunted, Whiteout, Nomad, Archivist, As the Dead Sleep, and Escape the Dog Walker. With 4 different difficulties and one with custom settings for the survival mode, there is endless possibilities for tweaking and tuning your run. Sit back and relax with plenty of loot and resources, with less harsh weather for a new beginner, or an even harder challenge than the hardest difficulty for the ultimate survival experience. That's up to the player. And I absolutely love when survival games gives the player the opportunity to tweak and play around the settings like that and give the ultimate freedom of the experience. The 4 standard difficulty listed, from the easiest to the hardest, are Pilgrim, Voyager, Stalker, and Interloper, with each setting having different unique traits to them, such as on Pilgrim, wildlife like wolves does not attack the player unless provoked. The starting loot does also decrease throughout the difficulties, and on Pilgrim you have plenty of loot to get through the first few days, maybe even first week, before the real challenge starts, and completely different to what it would be if you were playing on Interloper. With 5 feats being available on Pilgrim, and with each difficulty step up, the number of feats would be decreased by 1, all the way down to 2 on Interloper. Feats are small perks that gives you permanent bonuses throughout the game that are picked before starting a run, kinda like perks from Call of Duty Zombies. These feats are earned by completing different requirements, such as spending 100 days outside for the Cold Fusion feat, or consuming 200 cups of coffee or energy drinks for the Straight to the Heart feat. Starting a survival game, we are greeted by a text telling you are in a harsh geomagnetic storm that has crash landed your plane into the northern Canadian wilderness, with one question being asked the player: how long will you survive? Spawning in a random location on your chosen map, for example Mystery Lake or Coastal Highway, you're surrounded by the chilling sound of wind, snow covering the landscape as far as the eye can see. with one simple goal, you start to wander in one direction. You'll soon realize you aren't a one-man army or some super soldier that can take on anything. You cannot run for long. The wind and the cold surroundings are already getting to you, with your body temperature decreasing fast. You'll need shelter fast before developing frostbite or dying from the cold weather. This is an excellent way to give the player an objective without never telling the player what's going on. In the long dark, your one and only goal is to survive. It is quite odd, but something you quickly figure out is that there's no long-term planning in this game. Everything you do is planned on a day-to-day basis, with food, water and heat being very scarce. It's very easy to lose track of, forcing you to go out and look for more firewood or food. Resource management is also essential to your survival. Even though it doesn't seem like it, you can still easily end up with way too much loot or not enough to get you through the next day, ending your run quicker than expected. And this will happen throughout your first playthrough. It took me countless attempts to learn the basics of the game and survive my first week. And with no base building mechanics like in Rust or the Forest, you either have to bunker down in some rundown structure and call it your home, or travel across different homes and sleep in those you come across along your journey. Before spawning in, you need to pick your starting area. This is your quote-unquote second difficulty setting, since different areas are harder than others to survive in. For example, Mystery Lake is the easiest of them all, and a good place to spawn if you want to learn the basics of the game. Since Mystery Lake have a lot of different houses, memorable landmarks, easy access to a gun, and is a good place to explore into different areas without being too hard. The fact that you have no way of building a base to shield you from the weather makes regular homes and other man-made structures much more important. The closest to base building you'll ever come is small bunkers you can make out of snow. This gives you temporary shelter from some of the cold, but never fully warming you up. This is only really an emergency thing for you to do in case you're stranded in the middle of nowhere. This mechanic ties greatly into wildlife mechanics, where animals can hunt and track you down like bears and wolves, making you feel even more like prey, at least for the time starting out where you don't have a gun or really any way to defend yourself. You also have a health bar that comes with different stats and debuffs, because just being too cold in the long dark can easily kill you. From frostbites to food poisoning, the opportunity of death is endless. Every single debuff or illness have its different ways to heal you again, like meds or even herbal tea in some situations may be the right call. All of these things will be shown to you in the menu where every other information about you is, making accessibility and readability very good and very easy to understand. When talking about one's health, we also must talk about your carrying capacity, which starts at 30 kilos but can easily be decreased by being tired or having low health. Carrying too much gear will first take away your ability to sprint. After that, making you unable to even walk depending on how much you're carrying over the 30 kilo limit. Though this 30 kilo limit can be increased all the way up to 45 as the max, you can achieve this by stacking different things together, with these items being the moose hide satchel, tactical backpack, and being well fed. Clothing is also something to keep in mind. What to wear and which gives you the best stats. Remember though, just because you're wearing them doesn't mean that they don't weigh you down. It's important to figure out what you need to wear, something that's more wind resistant than just warm, or vice versa, to keep your character warm in your current situation. And this gives you the opportunity to also fully customize how your clothing on your character looks in so many different ways. With the different type of clothing such as shoes, gloves, and hats for example, these are just small things that adds to a bigger picture. With such a feature-filled game, I'm surprised that there's no stupid or useless feature. At no point I've said to myself, wait, what? That doesn't make sense, which surprises me. This game has the right amount of being simple, but at the same time super complex without confusing anyone. The premise of the survival mode is super easy to understand and follow along with, without making anything confusing. Basically, this game is easy to learn, but hard to master. All in all, I love this game, especially as a small thing I can pick up and play when I'm bored. I love the art style and how the game looks absolutely amazing, and I get fully invested in the game without even thinking about it when I start playing it. I definitely think you should try this game out if you haven't already, because it's such an amazing experience.